Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte said on Monday he was prepared to send his military ships in the South China Sea to stake a claim over oil and mineral resources in the disputed part of the strategic waterway. With some critics complaining Duterte had gone soft by refusing to push Beijing to comply with an arbitration ruling. He said the public can be assured he would assert the country's claims to resources like oil and minerals in the South China Sea. Duterte said that him not so much interested now in fishing. He don't think there's enough fish to quarrel about. But when we start to mine, when Philippines start to get whatever it is in the bowels of the China Sea, Philippine oil, by that time he will send gray ships there to stake a claim. If they start drilling oil there, he will tell China, is that part of the agreement? If that is not part of the agreement, he will also drill oil there, he said, even as he reiterated he wanted to remain friends with Beijing. Duterte has sought to build an alliance with China and has been reluctant to confront its leadership, having been promised billions of dollars of loans and investments, much of which have yet to materialize, frustrating nationalists. Duterte has repeatedly said the Philippines was powerless to stop China, and that challenging its activities could risk a war his country would lose. The firebrand leader said there was no way for the Philippines to enforce without any bloodshed a landmark 2016 arbitral ruling that clarified the Philippines' sovereign rights in its exclusive economic zone. The Chinese embassy in Manila did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The Philippines has filed several diplomatic protests against China's actions in the South China Sea, with the latest accusing its giant neighbor of undertaking illegal fishing and massing more than 240 boats within its territorial waters. Meanwhile, the latest news from China that has issued a stark warning to Taiwan, telling the island Beijing prefers war to allowing the country to forge closer ties to the US. While Chinese military jets carried out another flyover above Taiwan, a high-level delegation of US officials visited the island. In response, Beijing told Taipei any attempts to strengthen ties with the US would fail. China's Taiwan Affairs Office announced the strike force of 25 Chinese fighters, bombers and surveillance aircraft which flew over Taipei was to send a message to the island. In a grim warning, spokesman Ma Xiaoguang declared, "The signal given by the military drills is that we are determined to stop Taiwan independence, and stop Taiwan from working with the US." As the USS Theodore Roosevelt and its battle group entered the South China Sea, China's aircraft carrier Liaoning and its fleet circled Taiwan. When the two fleets converged, the 25 Chinese aircraft, which included 14 J-16 strike fighters and 4 H-6K strategic bombers, pushed their way into airspace over Taiwan's nearby Pratas Island. Chinese state media outlet The Global Times said, "The exercise conducted by the PLA or People's Liberation Army served as a warning to Taiwan secessionists and the US after the two had made a series of provocative moves." The PLA is taking pragmatic steps to make sure it can effectively reunify the island of Taiwan if it comes to that. On Wednesday, a former U.S. Senator and two ex-State Department officials arrived in Taiwan to talk with leaders about China. Chris Dodd, a Democratic senator from Connecticut from 1981 to 2011, was accompanied by two former Deputy Secretaries of State, James Steinberg and Richard Armitage, to meet with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen. A Taiwanese defense official also claimed Taipei wants to buy long-range, air-launched cruise missiles from the U.S. in response to Chinese aggression. Li Shi-chang, head of Taiwan's Defense Ministry's Strategic Planning Department, said Taipei would buy Lockheed Martin Corp's AGM-158 weapon system when the U.S. allows. The AGM-158 Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile can have a range of almost 1,000 kilometers or 621 miles depending on the model. It comes as the Australian Defence Force or ADF begins preparation for a worst-case scenario war with China over Taiwan in the next 5 years. A diplomatic source told the Australian Financial Review, "There is a lot of development and scenario planning going on. It is intended to signal you are not going to blink. It is intended to demonstrate you don't lack commitment." ADF Chief Angus Campbell also said conflict over the island of Taiwan would be disastrous for the people of the region and should be avoided at all cost.